Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys, and today I have Bud Spencer. Yeah! So, Bud Spencer, the legend, single malt whiskey by St. Kilian Distillers, 700 milliliters, very good. So, natural color, non-chilled filtered, 46%, very, very good. Established 2020, batch number 1. And on the back, it's actually written here in German, so we're not even going to read anything about this. So, now I am a big fan of what St. Kilian's distillers in Germany are doing. If you look at my website here, at my YouTube channel, you'll see 10, 15 different videos so far of different products that they brought out. I like the concept that they're doing. They actually did 7 spirits of St. Kilian, which were not yet finished whiskeys because they weren't 3 years old. And they're going to do 7 signature editions from St. Kilian, describing and also demonstrating 7 different aspects of what they can do. 3 will be smoky, 4 will not be smoky. They're actually at the number 6 at the moment, so the last one will be smoky. 1, 2 were not, 3, 4 were, 5, 6 were not, and 7 will be. And so wonderful, wonderful things that they've done. Very, very, very helpful for the German market. Now, over in America, we have a lot of craft distillers. We have some craft distillers that have been in St. George, for example, Westward, Westland, have been now for 20-some years producing whiskeys. They basically started 2016. So they're fairly new on the market. So the owner, Andy Andreas Timna, he is and was a financial investor, like a venture capitalist, and also especially for mergers and acquisitions. So he's a investment banker. Let's just say that the guy has some money. All right, I know him. I've known him now for a couple of years. He's doing a very good job with the distillery. He's in there with a passion, with a enthusiasm where many other people have to actually learn from him and be inspired by him. Now, he's got some great people. Mario Rudolph is his master distiller. He actually, first of all, learned to be a carpenter, actually a cabinet maker, and then he did a further education, became a beer brewer, and then he went on and he became a master distiller by visiting over a period of 2 years, different places. He was in Scotland and did a internship basically there. He was in Ireland, did an internship there. He's been in the States and visited a lot of the craft distillers and picked up some great tips and been able to work with them. And actually, they have one of the old master distillers from Ireland. He actually planned, designed, and implemented and commissioned the St. Kilian distillery in Rüdenau, which is about 45 minutes southwest of Frankfurt. Now they have the problem that every craft distiller has in the world: distribution. So if you talk to anyone in the States, you'll know that it's very, very difficult to get distribution. You'll have a fan around your distillery, maybe a 50-mile radius, and with talking with some of the stores on the 50-mile radius, you'll be able to get some shelf space, no problem. But what do you do with shelf space in New York, Florida, California, Chicago, and so on? Where do you get national distribution? And that's the big problem. Of course, you can work with a national distributor, pay a lot of money, let them do the work for you. But even if you pay them a lot of money, there's no guarantee that they're going to work for you and they're going to do actually the job that they're supposed to be doing, is selling your product, because of course they're selling other people's products as well. I always say the 3-tier system of America is almost as bad as the mafia sometimes. Sorry for saying that. And there's a lot of money flowing and a lot of deals being done in order to get big brands out there and little brands ignored. My personal opinion. Good. Going back to Germany now, that we have a few German brands out there. We have someone called Finch. We have someone called Elsburn. We have something called maybe Hillock. We have something called Nine Springs. We have a few other distilleries out there that have, we have Stork Rye and so on that are coming up in national at a national level where the quality and the price and the quantity is actually what it should be. Some of these actually sell out within days. You'll have a good distillery that does a good single barrel. Great. Yeah, 300 bottles. Wow. And so what you need to do is you need to have 10,000 a bottle to actually cover a market like Germany and even Europe and actually be able to sell this over a period of a year or more. And so what they did is at St. Kilian, they actually headhunted someone else from a different place, Thorsten, good to see you. And his desire from the very beginning was to do something with Bud Spencer. And so they contacted Bavarian Film Studio and they said, hey, we'd like to have a license agreement. And they went, no problem. Here's our portfolio. They actually got a book, an album, like 100 different pictures, poses, portraits of Bud Spencer. They picked one out. And unfortunately, the one they picked out was not a picture, but it was actually a painting. So that means you have to pay royalties, not only on the Bavaria film studio, but you also have to pay royalties here on the artist. It's cents on the bottle, but still it adds up. And so they really love that fist and that pose, and so hey, Bud Spencer the legend became now the main momentum behind this new bottle for the retail market. So far, they've been in the specialist market. So we have a lot of specialist stores here in Germany. We'd have tobacco and maybe wine and some whiskey. We'll have maybe a wine shop that has some whiskey. You'll have maybe about 20 whiskey stores all over Germany, some in Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, and so on. And they'll have, of course, St. Kilian products in there. And all they've been doing so far is batches. So it was signatory edition release 1, and then it was sold out. Then 2 and sold out. 3 and was sold out. Usually the next one came on the market before the last one was sold out. 2, it didn't work out that way, and so on and so on and so on. And now they're up to 6, and the 7th will be released soon, and then they're going to repeat a few of those and then go on and create a core range one day. And so now they've actually decided, hey, let's go a different direction. Let's have a two-prong approach. Let's have our signature edition, St. Kilian, still for the specialty markets. And let's have a different, just like you have Toyota and Lexus, just like you have Mercedes and Maybach, you can actually have, for example, this, and then the lower supermarket type of retail brand, which they're going to do. I hope they have a lot of success with this because they're producing a lot. They actually reduced the production at the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020 because they were running out of warehouse capacity. Luckily, they have now leased a old NATO place, NATO place. It's a NATO, used to be silos and so on, a base. And now they have all these bunkers where they can actually store the whiskey with natural ventilation. Beautiful, beautiful area, guarded, perfect place for whiskey maturation. And so they can produce now until the next 12 years, and they still won't be able to fill up all the warehouses they have the possibility to do. So that was an excellent, excellent serendipity, a little bit of a coincidence for them. All right. You've come here not to hear the story of St. Kilian. Well, probably not, but rather to see how the whiskey is. Now, on the nose, there's a typical characteristic of St. Kilian. It's green, apples, and pears. And you really get that on this. This is 3.5 years old. It's not going to get much older in the future. Maybe it might get up to 4.5, 5 years in the next 8 years. But this is something that's going to stay fairly young. So this is something which is a maturation. It's a mix. It's a blend of their first fill bourbon casks and their first fill Amarone casks. I would say 80% is bourbon and 20% is Amarone, maybe less. There's a little bit of a sour type of red plum in the background, which is for me the Amarone. Now, I love the business concept. I really enjoy the people that work there. They're people that I respect and people that I actually have to say, wow, well done. But I have never had, except for maybe the signature edition 5, which was a mixture of 5 different virgin oak casks. I've never had a St. Kilian where I went, wow, that's good. They're just young. They're just too young, for my personal opinion, at the moment. What can they do? They started 2016. Hey, um, wait, no, they have plans for the 10-year-old. They have plans for the 12-year-old. They have plans for the 18-year-old. They've set stock aside for that moment. But up until then, we're going to have to do with something like this. And something like this is 35 euros, which is a great price over here in Europe for a bottle like this, for 0.7 liters. Now, I know I can go to the supermarket. I know I can go and buy a Glenfiddich 12-year-old for 24 euros. And then I look and say, oh, look, there's Bud Spencer for 34 euros. Okay, let's try Bud Spencer once. And that is already in the premium market. And that's the problem of that Glenfiddich can produce tens of millions of liters of alcohol a year, and St. Kilian will be a max if they went 24/7 is 500,000, and at the moment they're more around 200,000 liters that they produce a year, which is comparable to Wolfburn, I think. I still get a little bit of that lactose acid. I get a little bit of a maltiness. There's a little bit of wood involved. It's not a bad whiskey for its age, but it's not a great whiskey either. Sorry, Andy. Sorry, Torsten. It's young. It's almost, I'm going to say, immature. Is this something I'm going to grab and drink? I'm going to, they're going to actually put out in the future over here in Germany, maybe even in France and other bordering countries in the future. It's all about distribution. It's all about getting shelf space also in other countries in Europe. And then we're going to, then they are going to work on international distribution. And then they're going to bring out a peated Bud Spencer, a different color label scheme. And then they're actually going to bring out a cask strength Bud Spencer, which I really look forward to. That's something I'm going to go for. I'm not a peat head, so I don't care about the peat at all. Is it a bad whiskey? No. It's a C- whiskey. Value for money, C-. This is something that's more of a gimmick type of whiskey. Think Game of Thrones. I don't know if any of you bought, I think it was the Dalvini Game of Thrones, or maybe even the Roy Bracala. I don't think any of us bought purposefully, unless we wanted the set. We bought the Kleinisch, we bought maybe the Lagavulin, we might have bought the Oben because of the black bottle. This is a gimmick. It's hopefully a good gimmick, and I hope that they actually have a lot of success with this, but this is not a wow whiskey in any fathom of my imagination. All right, so I'm not going to compare it to anything today. I think I gave you a little bit of a history of the German market that has developed and is developing. And as we know, as connoisseurs of whiskey, especially of craft whiskey, the most difficult thing is distribution. It's not as difficult to make a good whiskey as you think. It is terribly difficult to get your bottles out there and get shelf space to be able to have it in front of the people so they can decide whether to buy it or not. Who would have known? All right. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please tell others about this. Please share this video as well. I think it's very, very interesting to know that it's not just an American problem with shelf space. It's an international problem. The same thing Kavalan, the same thing Amrut, the same thing John Paul, the same thing all these other Bains in South Africa. They have exactly the same problems as we do, and it all depends on your importer, your distributor, and also your partners. So I hope St. Kilian gets some good partners in the future, and that they can actually get a good fan base and actually develop their product distribution routes. All the best. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.